The Severance. The massive crystal dome of the Galactic Consortium headquarters gleamed under the light of 3 artificial suns. Ambassador Ilara Chen straightened her midnight blue uniform, fingers tracing the golden Earth emblem on her collar, perhaps for the last time in these hallowed chambers. After 15 years of service as humanity's voice among the stars, today would be her final address. The chamber buzzed with the voices of 300 alien species. Some floated in specialized atmosphere bubbles, others sat in gravity-adjusted chairs, and a few existed as pure energy forms contained in shimmering fields. At the center of it all stood the human ambassador, her dark eyes scanning the gathered representatives. "The people of Earth and all human colonies have made their decision," she announced, her voice clear and unwavering. The universal translators hummed, converting her words into hundreds of languages simultaneously. "For 73 years, we have been members of this consortium. For 73 years, we have followed your regulations, respected your customs, and helped build what we believed was a community of equals among the stars." The Volcorian representative, a towering being with metallic scales that shifted colors with his moods, leaned forward. "Then why break this harmony?" His scales flashed an irritated crimson. "Humans have prospered under consortium protection." Ilara tapped her datapad, and holographic images filled the chamber. They showed trade routes systematically diverted away from human colonies, scientific breakthroughs classified as restricted when humans made them, and military patrols that accidentally targeted human ships with increasing frequency. "This is not harmony," she stated flatly. "This is systematic suppression. You fear our adaptability, our innovation speed, our potential, so you work together to keep us contained." Gasps and angry murmurs filled the chamber. The Nexari delegate, a mass of crystalline structures that served as both body and mind, rose from her hovering platform. "These are serious accusations. They are facts," Ilara replied coldly. She projected more images, secret communications between consortium members, plans to limit human expansion, strategies to keep Earth dependent on alien technology. "We found these in your own databases. You really should have remembered that humans excel at information technology." The consortium erupted in chaos. Some representatives shouted denials, others demanded explanations, and a few sat in stunned silence, their secret plans exposed to the light of those 3 artificial suns. Meanwhile, aboard the Earth vessel Defiance, Admiral Sora Nakamura received the encoded message she had been both expecting and dreading. Her hands moved swiftly over the control panel, initiating the sequence they had rehearsed for months. "All human vessels, this is command." She broadcast on the secure quantum channel. "Implementation of Protocol Stardust begins now. I repeat, Protocol Stardust is active." Back in the consortium chamber, Ilara raised her hand for silence. When the noise finally died down, she spoke again, her voice heavy with finality. "As of this moment, Earth and all human colonies officially withdraw from the Galactic Consortium. Our trade agreements are suspended. Our technological support ends. Our military cooperation ceases." The Arcturian High Speaker, an ancient being of pure light who had led the consortium for over 1,000 years, moved forward. "You cannot do this. The consortium has stood for 12 millennia." "Yes," Ilara said softly, "and perhaps that is part of the problem. You've forgotten how to evolve, how to embrace change, how to accept new ideas that challenge your comfortable power structures. We tried to help you remember, but you refused to listen." She unpinned her consortium badge and placed it on the central podium, the metallic sound echoing in the sudden silence. "We will establish our own path now. Any species that wishes to deal with humanity fairly and openly is welcome to contact us independently. But we will no longer bow to your limitations or accept your subtle oppressions." As Ilara walked out of the chamber, the first reports were already coming in. Human ships across the galaxy were powering up their engines. Trade vessels were changing course. Research stations were going dark. Military units were returning to Earth-controlled space, and in the Great Consortium Chamber, under the light of 3 artificial suns, the representatives of 300 worlds began to realize that their comfortable, controlled galaxy was about to change forever. Nobody knew it yet, but this was only the beginning of the storm that would reshape the stars themselves. 2 weeks after Earth's departure, the galaxy was already feeling the effects. Commander Raj Patel stood on the bridge of the evacuation vessel Horizon, watching as another group of human researchers boarded through the transfer tubes. "How many this time?" he asked his first officer. 43 scientists from the Proxima Deep Space Observatory. Lieutenant Yuna Kim replied, checking her tablet. The local authorities gave them 48 hours to leave after all their research credentials were suddenly invalidated. Raj rubbed his tired eyes. This was the 8th evacuation this week. The consortium species were making their anger known by pushing out human residents, but they were also hurting themselves in the process. On the main screen, he could see 2 alien research vessels, drifting with minimal power. Without human maintenance crews, their hybrid propulsion systems had begun to fail. No one else knew how to repair the cross-species technology that humans had helped develop over decades. "Commander," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving distress signals from the Orion trade route. Pirates are hitting the cargo ships." Raj wasn't surprised. The human fleet had protected those lanes for generations. Now those ships were gone, and the consortium's own patrols were proving woefully inadequate. Meanwhile, in the consortium emergency chamber, alien representatives faced their own crisis. The Velcorian ambassador, his scales now a worried blue-green, was speaking. "Humans manage 37% of all interstellar shipping," he said, his voice amplified through the translation field. "Their withdrawal has crippled our supply chains. My worlds are already facing shortages of essential materials." The Nexari representative's crystalline form pulsed with agitation. "Perhaps we should not have agreed to restrict their trade routes in the first place," she said, her tone sharp enough to cut through the diplomatic niceties. "My civilization depended on human agricultural innovations. Now our food production systems are failing." Across the galaxy, the effects multiplied. On the frontier world of New Anchorage, Captain Layla Sharif watched as the last consortium security force packed up their equipment. They had claimed to protect this sector for years with human assistance. Now they were leaving, stating they couldn't maintain the security grid alone. "What do we do now, Captain?" asked one of the colonists, fear evident in his voice. Layla checked her pulse rifle and smiled grimly. "We protect ourselves, like we always did before we joined their precious consortium." That night, the first Velcorian raiders tested the colony's defenses. They quickly discovered that humans hadn't actually needed the consortium's protection. They had just been playing by the rules. Back on Earth, in the newly established Independent Human Command Center, Ambassador Ilara Chen reviewed the latest reports with her team. The screens showed disruptions spreading across consortium space, trade collapses, technological failures, rising conflicts. "They still don't understand," she said softly. "They thought they were controlling us, but we were actually holding everything together." Her aide handed her another report. 7 non-consortium species had already requested independent trade agreements with Earth. They had seen which way the stellar winds were blowing. In the outer sectors, Admiral Nakamura and the Defiance responded to another distress call, this time from a consortium medical ship stranded without power. "Why are we helping them?" a young ensign asked as engineers prepared to board the alien vessel. "They kicked us out." Nakamura watched as her crew gathered their tools. "Because that's what humans do," she said simply. "We help. We build. We fix things. That's what makes us different." As the first month drew to a close, the consortium's carefully regulated galaxy was unraveling faster than anyone had predicted. But in that chaos, something new was emerging. A recognition that humanity had been more than just another member species. They had been the glue holding the modern interstellar community together. And this was just the beginning of the changes to come. The unraveling. 6 months after humanity's departure, Captain Marcus Rivera crouched behind a stack of cargo containers in the shadows of Nexari Station's lower levels. His breath condensed in small clouds. The station's environmental systems were failing like so many other consortium technologies. Through enhanced vision goggles, he watched as 3 Velcorian traders exchanged credit chips with a group of shadowy figures. Behind them, crates of illegal weapons were being loaded onto a transport ship. Got it all recorded, he whispered into his subdermal communicator. Every second. Engineer Sophia Chen replied from her hidden position across the docking bay. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. The consortium's authority is collapsing faster than our models predicted. Marcus had seen this coming. Without human peacekeeping forces, illegal weapons were flooding into frontier systems. The Velcorians were taking advantage of the chaos, arming smaller species as proxies for their expanding empire. On the other side of the station, Sophia worked quickly to install the new quantum entanglement communicator she had developed. It was smaller than consortium versions and 5 times as fast. Soon, Earth would have its own independent communication network, free from consortium monitoring or control. Breaking news from the Tellurian Collective, her tablet announced. She paused to watch as the Tellurian leadership declared their independence from the consortium. They weren't the first to leave, and they certainly wouldn't be the last. Back on Earth, in the newly established Terran Diplomatic Center, Ambassador Ilara Chen met with representatives from 23 non-consortium species. The room bustled with beings of all descriptions, from the crystalline Thadrines to the gaseous Nimbari. Earth welcomes independent trade agreements with all of you, she said confidently. No restrictions, no hidden political agendas, no manipulative clauses, just fair exchange between equals. The Thadrian representative, a being whose body refracted light into dazzling patterns, tilted forward respectfully. The consortium warned us against dealing directly with humans. They said you were unpredictable, dangerous, potentially destabilizing. Ilara smiled. And yet here you are. Because we've seen what happens when humans leave a system, the Thadrian replied simply. Things stop working. Progress stalls. Problems go unsolved. In deep space, the Earth vessel Defiance received another distress call. Admiral Nakamura sighed. These were becoming alarmingly frequent. This time, it was a minor species colony requesting help against raiders. The consortium had refused assistance, claiming resource limitations. Plot a course to the colony, Nakamura ordered her crew. Let's show them how humans handle raiders. Meanwhile, in what remained of consortium space, conditions deteriorated rapidly. The Velcorian Empire had moved warships into formerly human-protected sectors, claiming they were maintaining order. Everyone knew it was really an invasion, but the consortium seemed powerless to stop it. On the frontier world of Eden Prime, Sophia Chen was installing another quantum communicator when she made an unexpected discovery. The local species, the insectoid Kithri, had been secretly developing their own technology. We learned from watching humans, the Kithri Queen explained, showing her their workshops filled with reverse-engineered human designs. The consortium kept us dependent on their technology, but humans showed us we could build our own. Sophia sent an encrypted message to Earth. More and more species were breaking free from consortium dependency, following humanity's example. The galaxy was transforming faster than anyone had anticipated. In the consortium chambers, now half empty as more species withdrew, the remaining representatives argued desperately. Their carefully controlled system was collapsing around them. We should reach out to Earth, one suggested. Ask them to return. With conditions that favor us, of course, another added quickly. The Arcturian high speaker, dimmer now than before, pulsed with frustration. You still don't understand. We can't control them anymore. We never truly could. Marcus Rivera, monitoring the consortium's debate through a secure feed, couldn't help but smile. The consortium had feared human unpredictability, human innovation, human independence. Now they were witnessing what the galaxy looked like without those very qualities. As the 6th month ended, 5 more species announced their withdrawal from the consortium. The Velkorian Empire was massing warships along its borders. The Tellurian Collective was openly calling for a new galactic alliance with Earth at its center. The dominoes were falling, and no one could stop them now. The old order was crumbling, and from its ruins, something new was emerging. Something that might be better, if the galaxy was ready to learn from its mistakes. 1 year had passed since Earth's departure, and the Velkorian Empire was done with subtle moves. Their warships darkened the skies above the former human colony of Novaterra, their weapons glowing with deadly intent. Lieutenant Maya Ortiz watched from her hidden bunker as the massive ships descended. She had discovered their invasion plans 3 days ago, when she caught their agents attempting to hack the colony's defense network. Now they were here, thinking the settlement was defenseless. All units in position. She whispered into her communicator. Ready and waiting, came the replies from 30 hidden locations throughout the colony. The Velkorians had studied human military tactics from consortium records, but those were decades outdated. Humanity's weapons and strategies had evolved far beyond what they expected. The first Velkorian dropships touched down, their metallic-scaled troops marching out in perfect formation. They moved like they already owned the place. That was their first mistake. In the depleted consortium chambers, the remaining representatives watched the invasion through their holographic feeds. None moved to help. They couldn't. Their own military forces were scattered across the galaxy, desperately trying to maintain some semblance of order as their authority crumbled. The humans brought this on themselves, the Velkorian ambassador declared, his scales flashing a triumphant gold. If they had stayed within consortium control. Like you stayed in control. The Nexari representative cut him off. Your empire is attacking independent worlds while we debate meaningless points of order. Meanwhile, aboard the Earth flagship Prometheus, Ambassador Ilara Chen was meeting secretly with representatives from the Axiom Collective, one of the most advanced species who had observed the consortium for millennia, but never joined. We've watched Earth for centuries. The Axiom leader, a being of pure quantum energy, communicated directly into Ilara's mind. You were right to leave the consortium. Their era is ending. And what comes next? Ilara asked. That depends on you, the Axiom leader replied. Humanity stands at a crossroads. You could build your own empire, become what you once opposed. Or you could forge something new, a true community of equals, built on mutual respect rather than fear and control. On Novaterra, the battle had begun. The Velkorians advanced with overwhelming force, expecting minimal resistance. Instead, they found themselves facing an enemy that had anticipated their every move. Human defense systems, hidden until now, activated simultaneously. Targeted electromagnetic pulses disabled Velkorian battle armor. Autonomous drones swarmed their command ships. Colonists who appeared to be simple farmers revealed themselves as highly trained militia. Lieutenant Ortiz watched as the Velkorian forces fell into disarray. Their rigid hierarchy couldn't adapt to the chaotic battlefield humans had created. Their commander, desperate to regain control, ordered his flagship to begin orbital bombardment, breaking every rule of engagement the consortium had established. That was exactly what Maya had been waiting for. Execute Stardust Protocol Phase 2, she ordered. Across the galaxy, hidden human satellites activated, broadcasting the Velkorian atrocities to every world, consortium member or not. They showed not just the attack on Novaterra, but the secret records of Velkorian plans to systematically conquer worlds left vulnerable by the consortium's collapse. In the consortium chambers, the broadcasts interrupted the ongoing debates. The representatives watched in horror as the truth of what was happening beyond their protected worlds became impossible to ignore. Admiral Nakamura, meanwhile, had positioned the Defiance and its battle group just outside the Novaterra system. When the Velkorian flagship began its illegal bombardment, she gave the order. All ships, execute jump. Weapons hot. Show them what happens when you attack humans who are ready for you. The human fleet appeared from hyperspace directly behind the Velkorian armada. What followed wasn't just a battle, it was a demonstration. Human ships moved with unpredictable patterns that Valkorian targeting systems couldn't track. Human weapons bypassed shields calibrated to stop consortium technology. In less than an hour, it was over. The Valkorian invasion force was in retreat, leaving behind damaged ships and wounded pride. As news of the battle spread across the galaxy, something unexpected began to happen. Ships from non-consortium worlds arrived at Nova Terra, not to fight, but to offer support. Species that had been watching and waiting now chose their side. 1 month later, representatives from 78 independent worlds gathered on Earth, not in a crystal dome, but under the open sky of a planet that had survived its own countless wars before reaching for the stars. Ambassador Ilara Chen, now Secretary General of the newly formed Stellar Alliance, addressed them without amplification or translation devices. Each representative wore a new type of universal translator developed by Sophia Chen, smaller, more accurate, and freely shared with all members. The consortium ruled through fear of differences, Ilara told the assembled delegates. They saw diversity as a threat to be controlled. We see it as our greatest strength. She gestured to the human and alien engineers working together nearby, already designing the headquarters for their new alliance. Humans didn't walk away because we wanted to be alone. We walked away because we wanted to be free. Free to innovate, free to grow, free to make our own mistakes and learn from them. And now we offer that same freedom to all of you. As the delegates discussed the structure of their new alliance, reports came in from across the galaxy. The consortium was calling for emergency talks with Earth. The Valkorian Empire had withdrawn to its original borders, and dozens more worlds were requesting permission to join what they were calling the human experiment. Captain Marcus Rivera, standing guard at the perimeter of the gathering, smiled as he watched alien children playing with human children in the nearby gardens. They still don't get it, he said to Sophia as she joined him. They think we had some master plan all along. Sophia laughed. Isn't that the most human thing of all? We never knew what would happen when we walked away. We just knew we had to try something different. As the twin suns set over the new Stellar Alliance's first conclave, the universe that had begun to crumble when humans walked away was rebuilding itself, not as a rigid structure imposed from above, but as a living community growing from below. And that made all the difference.